Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Do appreciate you taking time out of your day. We're going to talk today about something that I'm seeing a lot more of. I'm seeing a lot more anxiety and panic attacks. They're really becoming prevalent. And I've been in practice 32 years, so I kind of have a history and I kind of see things that go on. And lately, past couple of years, it's just a spike in anxiety and panic. And among everybody, it's old people, young people, boys, girls. It's really kind of weird. Now, anxiety disorders, they include things like anxiety disorder, social anxiety, panic disorders. They affect about 40 million Americans. Already for this, about 18% of the U.S. population over the age of 18. That's a lot of people. And so 1 in 5, essentially, people are having anxiety and panic attacks. Now, it could be genetics, could be brain chemistry, could be personality. Life events could be causing it. It's something that doesn't stay all the time. It could come and go. And stress, of course, is the biggie that steps in. Anxiety is a normal response to stress. There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, it's protective and it keeps you alive. But when anxiety becomes overwhelming and difficult to cope, that's when we start having things like anxiety attacks. So there's other factors that can come into play. Cell phone use. Now, I've been talking for decades now, I guess since cell phones came out, about electromagnetic frequencies and how they can get into your body and they can cause problems. And we can do this. We can take functional MRIs and put a cell phone next to somebody's ear and see the changes that occur. And in my house, I have Wi-Fi, which is not a good thing to have all the time. So what I do is, I'm not home that often anyway, but if I'm home and I need the Wi-Fi, I can turn it on. But if I don't, I have a remote. My IT guy hooked me up, and it's a little remote, and I can push it. It shuts off the Wi-Fi, leaves the computer on, just shuts off the Wi-Fi. So that at night when I'm sleeping, no need for Wi-Fi at that time, I don't get all those electromagnetic frequencies going through my body. And it's something you might want to consider, that even if you don't think about it, you can say, I don't know if I'm having any problems or not, try shutting off your Wi-Fi. See if you sleep better. See if you wake up with less headaches. See if you wake up more refreshed. What do you got to lose? You're not using the Wi-Fi anyway. So what's the difference? So you could try that. But food additives, artificial sweeteners, gut dysfunction, nutritional deficiencies, excessive sugar, improper breathing, toxic exposure like mold. Mold is a big issue. And I did a show on that a couple of weeks ago on mold and how dangerous it is. So you've got to just be careful about what you're putting in your body. And things have changed since the 1980s. In fact, the other day I was watching, the Ten Commandments. And of course, they're all actors and actresses, but this is one of these big, mega event movies. But people were thinner. And now it's becoming more and more of an issue. Our society is changing really in the past 20 years. I remember talking to my mom about my father, and she says, one of the things that attracted me to your father was he had a great personality. He's really funny. And she said he had a real nice build on him. But she said, my father came from a family of 10 kids, eight brothers. She said, but all the men had nice builds back then. She goes, you didn't see, beer guts. Every now and then somebody was a little overweight. But she said everything was different. And it's true. And I've seen it in my life, too. If you even watch TV shows from the 70s, people have different builds than they have today. So we're putting a lot of stress in our body chemically. And then that, of course, if there's an aesthetic issue, becomes an emotional issue. And that is a lot of things contributing to the anxiety spike that I'm seeing. According to research published 2015, anxiety, characterized by constant overwhelming fear and worry, is becoming increasingly prevalent in the United States, now eclipsing all forms of cancer by 800%. So people worried about cancer, well, we should be, of course, but anxiety is way more than that. Data from the National Institute of Mental Health suggests the prevalence of anxiety disorders in the United States, which include generalized anxiety disorder, social anxiety, and panic disorders, could be as high as 40 million, or it was at 18% of the population. That's pretty crazy. Anxiety has surpassed depression as the most commonly diagnosed mental health problem among college students, and more than 50% of students are claiming they have anxiety. That's a lot of people, folks. So what's going on? Why are we so anxious? I want you to think about your life. And there are certain things that you can control. And there's certain things you can't control. Now, I'm a chiropractor. I'm board certified in chiropractic. orthopedics, pain management, double board certified in nutrition, BS in nutrition, award-winning author. My radio shows are listened to all over the world. And after being in practice for 32 years, I want to set up a standard with my patients where we get to the cause of the problem and not just treat the symptoms. And I see this a lot. People come in and say, well, doc, I'm taking this medication, that medication. I'm not against medication. If you need medication for pain or emotional disorders, I support that 100%. Along with you trying to get to the cause of your problem, trying to find out why these things are going on. Now, there's a lot of novel approaches that are coming out, which makes me very happy. College students tackling the problem, because 50% of college students have report anxiety. A high-tech solution out of the University of Central Florida, they're testing an online app called the Tau Connection for treating anxiety. There's 7-module cognitive behavioral programs, and it allows the student to conduct video conferences with a therapist. Now, the good news about this is that it's easier, it's more cost-effective, and it's only about 1/3 the counselor time and about half the overall cost. So when we come back, we're going to talk a lot more about anxiety and panic attacks. 20% of you have it, and we're going to give you a lot of ideas as to what you can do to get it fixed. If you have a question, I'm going to open up the phone lines, 844-44-Dr. Joe. My website, drjoeesposito.com, or just Google Dr. Joe. We archive all our radio shows. And if you have a question, give me a call. Maybe I can help you out. Not just on anxiety, any health question, 844-44-Dr. Joe. Hey, tell your friends about the show. We'll be right back. Hey, everybody, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate you taking time out of your day. We're talking about anxiety and panic attacks today. 1 in 5 people have them. Could be you. In fact, 1 in 5 of you listening have it. And many times we don't know what to do about it. We just lose our minds, and it can affect our relationships. It can affect our work, it can affect our family, affect our churches. Whatever you do, the anxiety and panic attacks can be a big issue. And they're getting worse. Now, genetics, brain chemistry, personality, life events, these are all things that can trigger it. Public scrutiny is a biggie. We have a lot of social media right now. And people tune into social media and they think, okay, they have body image issues. I don't look like that model. I don't look like that guy with his tight shirt on. So obviously I'm not good enough. And that can cause panic attacks too. And it's interesting, this is such a hot topic, that when I posted it on my Facebook page, man, I lit up. People really want to hear about this as to what to do about it. So I'm going to give you a lot of things that you can do starting today to help with this. Now, even if you don't suffer a full-blown panic attack or anxiety, you want to get your body functioning normally. And that's the key right there, because so many times we're treating the symptoms, not the cause. So it could be a reaction to stress. Now, there's several parts of the brain that are key actors that deal with stress and anxiety. So I'll get a little complicated with you here. Scientists have discovered that the amygdala and the hippocampus play significant roles in anxiety disorder. Now, there's different parts of the brain that do different things. The amygdala, it's believed to be the communications hub between the parts of the brain that process incoming sensory signals and then the parts that interpret these signals. Got to come in, and then your brain has to say, what is that? It can alert the rest of the brain that there's a threat and is present, and it can trigger a fear and anxiety response. So if the body thinks it's under attack, bam, it can go into this response. The emotional memories stored in the central part of the amygdala play a role in anxiety disorders involving things like fears, fear of dogs, fear of spiders, fear of flying. The hippocampus, I always love that part of the brain, the hippocampus, that's the part of the brain that encodes threatening events into memories. So in the hippocampus, that's where we have our memories. So you have something, you had a bad issue with a dog when you were a kid, dog bit you. So now we dig into the brain, into the hippocampus, and we say, okay, I remember dogs, I remember a bad experience, and I run. So there's a lot of other situations that you have to look at that you have control over your life. And let me go back on hippocampus for a second, because I'm going to talk about the food. Of course, I have to talk about food. And different foods are going to trigger different types of emotions. So what happens is when we were kids, most of us have a lot of fond memories around foods. There was Easter, there was Halloween, there was Christmas. And so food was a big event. And so we ate these foods, and it settled in our hippocampus, in our brain, as a happy memory. And so if you've ever studied Pavlov and Pavlov dogs, Pavlov would ring a bell, he's a Russian scientist, and feed the dogs, and ring a bell and feed the dogs. And the dogs would salivate every time they'd hear the bell. They'd think that, okay, food is coming. And so they'd salivate just when they heard the bell. So you and I and all of us have Pavlovian reflexes. Something happens in our life, and we respond to it. Christmas is coming. Easter's coming. I have to have an Easter basket. Halloween, going to get candy. And so you put these memories into the brain, and you have a reaction to it. So what I try to do with my patients is I try to get them to have to unlearn these things. Now, example, I was talking about this the other day with a good friend of mine about Gymnema. Gymnema is a supplement that when you take it, it makes sugar not taste good. So here we have memories of sugar. We have memories of cake. We have memories of chocolate. If you take the Gymnema supplement, it can help you break that sugar craving. And if you're in an emergency, I've done this before, in an emergency, you're dying for a piece of cake, you got to have a piece of donut, whatever. When I put patients on weight loss programs, I'll say, okay, here's your Gymnema. I want you to take it every day. In an emergency, I want you to chew one of the tablets. After you chew it, just rinse it out of your mouth. Doesn't taste great. Doesn't taste terrible either. Try eating sugar. Well, it doesn't taste good anymore. So now I'm retraining. I'm giving you a Pavlovian reflex against sugar. So a lot of your anxiety attacks are really something that happened a long time ago. And you're having a reaction. It stirs up the brain, and the brain says, this is bad. It might have been bad once, but it's not bad all the time. I train my patients to get off their bad foods because the bad foods can trigger things like anxiety, especially sugar. I'm going to take some callers. Lines are lighting up. If you have a question, 844-44-Dr. Joe, 844-44-DRJOE. I'll come back to anxiety and panic attacks, I promise. Ken, how can we make your day better? Hello, Ken.
Oh, Ken. Hey, Dr. Joe. I've talked to you over the last couple of years about sciatic nerve pain and all this.
Okay.
So real quick, I went and had the MRI, and I'm going to read this to you real quick. It says severe arthritis, degenerative disc disease of the lower spine. And what scares me, it says nerve root compression on both sides.
Sure.
Now, nerve root compression sounds to me like something they can't fix.
Who's they?
I don't know. I'm asking you, when it says compression, that sounds very painful, and that's what I go through every day.
Well, the reason you have arthritis, osteoarthritis, is the bones are out of alignment, rubbing up against each other for decades. When it shows up on an X-ray or an MRI, it had to be there already for 10 years or more.
Right.
So arthritis doesn't show up on an X-ray until it's there for about 10 years. So the bones have been out of place, rubbing up against each other. The little cushion called the disc wore out. The bones got closer and closer together, and they compressed the nerve. That's the nerve that goes into your back, hips, legs, knees, and ankles. That same nerve, Ken, controls your colon, sex organs, and bladder. This can cause gas, bloating, diarrhea, constipation, urinary problems, sexual problems. Everything from the waist down is being affected by these low back nerves. So now we have MRI proof that you have the pinched nerve. Now the question is, what do you do about it? What I would do is all the tables in all our offices are what's called flexion distraction tables. They gently pull apart the spine. And in your case, I would recommend gently pulling apart those vertebrae and try to decompress the nerve. Then we adjust, put the bones back in place. Then we get you on an anti-inflammatory diet because food can cause inflammation and make the problem worse.
Right.
And now we're getting to the cause that we should have got to 20 years ago. But it's never too late. We always want to get to the cause as quickly as possible. So that's what I would suggest you do.
So you've heard of nerve root compression before, I'm sure you have.
All day, every day for the past 35 years, yes, exactly.
Well, right before I hang up, the funny thing is I used to have this pain from my right hip down to my toes.
Sure.
And now, Dr. Joe, it seems to be from the lower part of my pocket to just right above my knee, and that's where the severe pain is.
Yeah. Okay, if it's going down the back of the leg, it's usually from your fifth lumbar. If it's down the side of your leg, it's from your third lumbar. It's called neuralgia paresthetica if it's down the side of your leg. And so you can kind of tell me where it's coming from. Then I could do an MRI or CAT scan or an X-ray. And then we just got to start putting the bones back in place because every day that goes by, it's getting worse.
If I bring my MRI disc to you, you can read it, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've read a few gazillion MRIs in my day. Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, thank you, Dr. Joe. I'm a big fan, buddy.
Thanks, Ken. Look forward to seeing you, folks. All right, folks, if you have a question, our number is 844-44-Dr. Joe. My website is drjoeesposito.com, or just Google Dr. Joe with the number one Dr. Joe in the world. We're talking today about anxiety and panic attacks, and 1 in 5 people have them. And it's break time? Oh, no, I got so much to talk about. All right, next time, we're going to talk about the things that can be triggering it. You'll be surprised. You're doing a lot of these things and don't even realize you can be triggering your anxiety attacks. If you have a question, our lines are open, 844-44-Dr. Joe. My website, if you have questions, if you want to send me questions, you can do it at the website. Listen to archive radio shows, drjoeesposito.com. You can just Google Dr. Joe, because we're the number one Dr. Joe in the world. Hey, folks, tell your friends about the show. We're going to be right back. Hey, everybody, thanks for listening. Do appreciate you taking time out of your day. We're talking today about anxiety and panic attacks. 1 in 5 people suffer from them. So it's a pretty big issue. And in fact, there's 800 times more anxiety panic attack patients than there are cancer patients. Pretty big deal. Number one mental health disorder there is, and 50% of college students say that they have anxiety and panic attacks. So this is a big issue, and nobody seems to be talking about it. So let's talk first about some of the things that might be causing it. Then I'll open up the calls, and I'll go back to the callers at 844-44-Dr. Joe. Cell phones, biggie. That's a big issue. If you do use a cell phone, I'm assuming you do. In fact, at the last break, when I was on the air, one of my coworkers came walking back in the studio. I said, "What happened?" She goes, "Left my cell phone. Can't go anywhere without my cell phone." So, of course, we all feel the same way. I love my cell phone, too. But I don't want you to ever put it against your head. And if you read the directions on that box that you got with your cell phone that you never read before, it clearly says never put the phone next to your head. You can hold it away from your ear, but don't have it touching your ear. I use a wired a cord, not I want to say a brand name, wireless, a wired cord. And just plug it into the phone, talk into it. That's much safer than putting the phone next to your head. Food additives. These are things, again, that didn't exist several years ago. But there's food additives, food dyes, genetically modified food, glyphosate, which is a weed killer, that we spray on our genetically modified foods, some of the genetically modified foods, and then the animals will eat these genetically modified foods. By the way, they don't wash the corn and the soybeans to remove all the toxic chemicals. They feed them right to the animals. These toxic chemicals can concentrate in the animal fat, and then you eat the animal fat. Not a good thing, is it? So when you're eating fat, you're eating a place where the animals store their toxic waste products. Not a good idea. Now, you can't eat, I don't know, haven't had meat in over 30 years, but I remember the marbling. That's the thing that gave it all the flavor. And if it had no marble, you'd have a problem. And in fact, one of my friends who works in the food industry is saying that that's a big issue, that we're raising pigs with so much muscle, they don't have a lot of fat anymore. And so pork doesn't taste the same as it used to. Now, again, I don't know that. I don't eat meat. But he said that's a big issue, and they're trying to come up with chemicals to tenderize the pork because they're raising pigs with a lot of chemicals, so they're not getting as much fat. So, food dyes, blue number 1, blue number 2, green number 3, orange B, red 3, number 40. You see all these numbers? These are all toxic chemicals. Gut dysfunction. This is a biggie. I need to cover this before I go back to the callers. The gut dysfunction caused by several things. Anybody have acid reflux, heartburn? Raise your hands. A lot of you. I know you do because I see you in my offices every single day. So if you have acid reflux or heartburn, your stomach is pushing up into your diaphragm. When the stomach pushes up into the diaphragm, food can reflux up into your throat. Now, the danger of that is the acid that comes up can eat away at your esophagus and lead to things like esophageal cancer. It can cause rough throat, raspy throat, coughing a lot, sinus problems, runny nose, because the acid is coming from your stomach up into your esophagus. Your stomach is lined with cells that can handle a very high acid environment. Your esophagus and your small intestine are not. And so if this acid goes up or goes down into your small intestine, can cause an ulcer, we've got problems. What does this have to do with anxiety? Your stomach's job is to take proteins and break them into amino acids. The amino acids become neurotransmitters in your brain. So, for example, tyrosine becomes a neurotransmitter. Tryptophan becomes a neurotransmitter. Tryptophan becomes serotonin. Serotonin is the neurotransmitter that helps you focus. Serotonin becomes melatonin, which helps you sleep. And if you're tired, you can be anxious. So acid reflux can lead to things like anxiety, depression, ADD, ADHD. And so what we have to do with those patients is we pull the stomach or massage the stomach down away from the diaphragm, allowing the food to stay in the stomach, not reflux up into the throat. And in the process, you're breaking the amino acids down so you can absorb them. Tyrosine becomes a dopamine, which gives you pleasure. Glutamine becomes GABA. GABA is a neurotransmitter that suppresses other neurotransmitters. So you see how your digestive system is so closely linked to your emotions. And then the bacteria in your colon. Our food today is loaded with antibiotics and pesticides that can kill off the bacteria, the good bacteria in your colon, and that can affect brain function. So this is pretty wild stuff. So when I have patients come in with anxiety, depression, bipolar, ADD, ADHD, I always say, listen, as a chiropractor, I have to check your spine. If you have bones pinching nerves, the messages from the brain can't get to the body. But then we have to look at your digestive system as well, and we have to look at your diet. The absolute minimum. Most of us don't even get the minimum amount of nutrients that we need. That's why I recommend everybody take, well, almost everybody, Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source. If you've never taken them, I have them sitting in front of me right here. I think you should. They're 2 powders. They taste great. I mix the 2 powders together. I shake it up with some coconut milk. And that's the minimum amount of nutrients. So if you're not willing to do anything else, I'm not going to go to a chiropractor. I'm not going to change my diet. At least, I'm begging you, give your body the nutrients that it requires. And then you can take the next step. You know what? I'm taking Super Greens and Essential Source. I feel really good. What else would Dr. Joe recommend? Let me go to the website and find out. So it's all on the website, drjoeesposito.com. Also, the Super Greens and Essential Source are available on Amazon. A lot of people have Amazon accounts. You can order them. My books, Eating Right for the Health of It, Prescription for Extreme Health. A lot of my products are on Amazon as well. So go to my website if you want to look up the information, or Amazon, drjoeesposito.com, or just Google Dr. Joe. Julia, how can we make your day better?
Well, I would love to get some information on the fatty liver condition. Can digestive issues also cause problems with the fatty liver?
Absolutely. Your stomach's job is to break proteins into amino acids. Then the food passes into your small intestine where the nutrients get absorbed. And then waste products are broken down. It's passed out. If your stomach isn't doing its job, or if you're not digesting your food properly, these partially digested foods go into the blood system and then get into the liver. The liver filters out everything. And if the liver is constantly being bombarded by chemicals and steroids and hormones and undigested food or partially digested food, that can lead to fatty liver. The other thing you have to worry about with fatty liver is high fructose corn syrup. High fructose corn syrup and sugar. So I'm begging you, Julia, please give up all your breads, cookies, cakes, donuts, pastas, alcohol, of course. You do that, the liver's the fastest healing organ in the body. It'll heal really fast when you start doing that.
That's
okay?
fantastic. That's
Thanks,
good
Julia.
to know. Thank you so much.
Folks, if you have a question like Julia just did, 844-44-Dr. My website, drjoeesposito.com, or just Google Dr. Joe with the #1 Dr. Joe in the world. You can order Dr. Joe Super Greens, Essential Source, my books, other supplements that we have. Send me questions. Hey, like me on Facebook. We send a lot of good information out on Facebook. Hey, tell your friends about the show. We'll be right back. Tell your friends about the show. Hey, everybody, thanks for tuning in. I do appreciate everybody spending a little time with me today. We're talking about anxiety and panic attacks today and what's causing them. And I want you to know that you might be doing things that are causing the problem. Wouldn't that stink? The reason I say that is I've been treating people for decades now. And when I finally sit down with them and I say, okay, this is your issue, this is what I want you to consider doing, they'll come back in usually a few visits later and say, wow, you were right. I've been doing this and it's been causing that. Like I said, cell phones can cause headaches and pillows can be issues. Pinched nerves, of course, as a chiropractor, we work on pinched nerves all the time. What they're eating, artificial sweetener. Artificial sweetener like aspartame, for example, breaks down to 3 components: aspartic acid, phenylalanine, and methyl esters. Aspartic acid can cause the brain to fire faster than it's supposed to and literally burn out your brain cells, just like glutamic acid does. And you might know the word glutamic acid from something called monosodium glutamate. Oh. So aspartic acid and glutamic acid are excitotoxins. They cause the brain to fire faster than they're supposed to, and that can lead to headaches. Aspartame is also a vasoconstrictor. Vaso means vessel, constrict means to tighten. So it tightens your blood vessels, which can cut off the blood supply to places like your headaches, your brain causing headaches. And so a lot of people, when they cut out their artificial sweetener, their headaches go away. And they say, for years I've had these headaches. No one ever told me to stop drinking my diet sodas or chewing my sugar-free gum or taking my supplements. I see supplements with artificial sweeteners. Had one come in the other day. It was this poor woman has to take something to go to the bathroom, and it's a bowel stimulant. And everything looked good. It had chia seeds and flax seeds, and I'm reading the ingredients. I said, oh, this looks pretty good. And then it had acesulfame K, which is an artificial sweetener in it. I said, here they had a really good product, and they could have easily sweetened it with something like stevia. But no, they ruined it by putting in an artificial sweetener. So if you're having anxiety attacks or panic attacks, I want you to consider stop using artificial sweeteners. Let's assume it doesn't work. So what? Didn't work. Didn't work. But if it does, then you'll be very happy. And there are substitutes like stevia. In fact, on my way into the studio today, it was a seltzer that was sweetened with stevia. That's like a soda, like it was just a gently sweetened seltzer. And I thought, this is fine. This is sweet, tastes fine. And I can drink something with stevia, eat something with stevia, and not trigger the dopamine reaction in my brain, which wants me to have more pleasure. The stevia tastes sweet, but doesn't create that pleasure center stimulation in the brain. So if you're having anxiety attacks, I want you to look around your house, look around your pantry, and say, what am I eating that has artificial sweetener in it? Whatever it is, stop. And then I want you to say, what can I eat to give my body more nutrients? You know, we just eat to fill our bellies most times. That's not the best thing. I want you to eat to give your body nutrition. Like things like fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds. These would be good things. One of the stores I shop at, they just had Brussels sprouts on sale. Who the heck likes Brussels sprouts? I love Brussels sprouts. I bought like 10 bags of them. I take them, coat them with olive oil, a little bit of balsamic vinegar, organic, of course, touch of garlic, salt and pepper, roast them. Spectacular. You can eat them cold. You can eat them hot. Very filling. And cabbage and Brussels sprouts have something in it called diindole methane. Diindole methane prevents testosterone from converting into estrogen. So now I'm actually helping my hormones, and it's loaded with fiber, which helps clean out all the toxins from my body. And it has sulfur in it, which can help build joints. And as a chiropractor, of course, I want to make sure my joints are healthy. So there's something quick, easy, really cheap, tastes great. If I bring them to the office, people are like, oh, what are you eating? Oh, can I have one? They look great. And so you got to start thinking, am I eating for nutrition or am I eating to just fill myself up? If you're eating to just fill yourself up, you need to stop because that can be contributing to panic attacks. I'm going to talk a little bit soon about some of the supplements you might want to consider taking. Always take Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source, most people, because that's going to give you the minimum amount of nutrients. But then in cases, I always add some other supplements if there's a specific issue. I'm going to go back to the calls because some folks are holding for a while here. If you have a question, give us a call, 844-44-Dr. Lisa, how can we make your day better?
Yes, you can start with my knee, my right knee.
Okay.
I heard you earlier talk about arthritis.
Yes.
That happens, and this has been going on. Apparently, it's been going on for a year to where it is very swollen.
Okay.
But I also felt I had my nerves being blocked coming down from my back.
Yes.
You said the sciatica of the 5 is on the back side of the leg. It's also on the side of the leg.
Okay, so you probably have the lateral femoral cutaneous nerve and the sciatic nerve. Okay.
The nerves are definitely damaged in some form or fashion because I have had hip replacement both.
Ah, there you go.
I got degenerative bone disease. But I'm a very healthy girl other than that. I'm very fit. But I had two options. I either had to block the nerve on the right knee, or because arthritis has taken over the whole healthy joint, or I have to have a knee replacement.
Okay, so here's my thoughts on this because we're coming up on a break here. Couple of things. Depending how much degeneration there is, will determine what kind of results you can get. Now, there's new research out. It's real exciting, and they're injecting stem cells. They either take it from your fat or your blood, spin down your stem cells, and inject it directly into the knee or into the shoulder or into the spine. And in many cases, we can actually start to regenerate some of that degenerated disc. And this is going to be the future, I believe, to not have to replace a lot of joints. Because the joint replacements are running rampant. And the reason you need it replaced, Lisa, is because the knee has been out of place for so many years. And you've been walking on bones that are out of place, rubbing up against each other. So what you can do is look for stem cell replacement. If you call my office, I have some doctors I can refer you to. And we'll see if we can try. I would try that first. If it were me, I would try that approach first. If it doesn't work, of course, you want to get the bones realigned. You want to get chiropractic care to fix the thing that caused it originally. Try the stem cell injection, see if that works. We don't do it in our office. I have to refer you out for that. And let's see if that works. If it doesn't work, we can always get a knee replacement. Once they cut your knee out, it's gone forever. So I like to do a conservative approach first and then get a little more aggressive.
I agree. I've had this for a year, year and a half. I've done everything I can, wrap it, everything I can do just to keep walking.
Yes. Well, what you can do is okay.
I wear out.
Yeah, I got to go to break, Lisa. Yeah.
Okay.
You can call my office 844-44 Dr. Joe. That number, by the way, rings through to my office when I'm not on the air. 844-44 Dr. Joe. My website, drjoeesposito.com. If you want to get Dr. Joe Super Greens, Essential Source, my books. If you have questions, send them to me through the website. Like me on Facebook, Facebook/Dr. Joe Esposito. We send out lots of good information there. Hey, come out to my live events, too. They're a lot of fun. Check my website for that. Hey, tell your friends about the show. We'll be right back. Tell your friends about the show. Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Do appreciate you taking time out of your day. A lot of fun to be with you today, and hopefully going to give you a lot of good information because we're dealing with a topic today that is really widespread, panic attacks and anxiety. And almost 1 in 5 people have it, and 50% of college students claim to have anxiety and panic attacks. So this is a big issue. And so a lot of you may have it and you think that you're just not feeling well, that you're a little under the weather. But in reality, it could be that your brain is essentially not working the way it should and not processing information in a real way. It's a perceived issue, not a real issue. It's a perceived issue if you're having a panic attack. Now, if you have a panic attack and something's wrong, that can be a good thing. So let me give you a little better understanding what panic attacks are. It can be terribly frightening. I've had patients come in my office and lose their minds. I had one patient, I remember a couple of years ago, he's a Vietnam vet, and we put him in a room, and there was no windows in the room, and he just lost it. He started screaming, I got to get out of here, got to get out of here. And he ran out of the office, and I'm thinking, wow, what the heck happened there? Talked a little later, he said, I had a panic attack. So again, it's a perceived issue, not a real issue. And so he was in confined quarters, didn't feel comfortable with that, and he had an attack. The attack can come on abruptly. It can produce intense fear, a sense of impending doom, or even death. And that is what typically it's severely disproportionate to the situation at hand. And that was a good example there. There was nothing wrong with him being in a room by himself. He just couldn't handle it. Hyperventilation, heart palpitations, trembling, sweating, hot flashes, nausea, dizziness, lightheadedness, numbness, and tingling. These can all be symptoms. Now, most attacks peak within about 10 minutes, and they go away in about 30 minutes. Few of them last over an hour. It's not uncommon for people to seek medical help because many times patients come into my offices and they'll say, well, Dr. Joe, or my doctors that work with me, they'll say, Dr. Joe, I think I'm having a heart attack, or I'm dying. I have this shooting pain down my hand. I feel real anxious. I get sweaty. And we check them out, and that can be an issue. Now, from a chiropractic standpoint, of course, I'm a chiropractor. From a chiropractic standpoint, if the body is not working the best it possibly can, and then something comes in and kind of pushes your button, you can have this overt reaction. And I see this in all issues of healthcare, where if your body is healthy and you get exposed to the flu virus, for example, well, you can usually fight it off. But if your body is weak or if the immune system is weak, you have a bigger, more grandiose reaction. And that's oftentimes what happens in panic attacks. Your body's already weak. You have a pinched nerve. Nerves control organs. You have a bad diet. You're eating alcohol, meat, sugar, dairy, coffee, soda, artificial sweetener. Most of your diet consists of breads, cookies, cakes, donuts, pastas. And so your body's already weak, and then something comes in. Your brain doesn't process it properly. We talked earlier about the amygdala, the part of the brain, the hippocampus, that process these emotions, and they just kind of get overwhelmed. And so you have control over the food you put in your body. And if you're not eating a good diet, chances are you're going to be deficient in a lot of nutrients. For example, magnesium. Magnesium helps relax your blood vessels. Magnesium helps relax your bowels if you have digestive or going to the bathroom problems. Relaxes your blood vessels so they open up and can lower your blood pressure. So many times people are deficient in magnesium. We get them on a magnesium supplement or some good foods that contain magnesium, and suddenly the body gets better. So magnesium is probably one of the supplements that most people are deficient in. Another one most people are deficient in is vitamin D. Not vitamin D2, vitamin D3. Because so many people come in and say, well, Dr. Joe, I had my blood work done. I'm deficient in vitamin D, and I was given a prescription for vitamin D, and a prescription is always vitamin D2 because it's synthetic. Vitamin D2 is about 500 times less effective than vitamin D3. So it'll give you 50,000 international units of vitamin D2 once a week. I'd much rather you take 5,000 international units of vitamin D3 every day, because you can only absorb so much of anything. So if I give you too much, it's just wasted. In the summer months, I want you outside about 15 or 20 minutes a day. Now, you're thinking, I can't get outside 15 or 20 minutes a day. Roll up your sleeves if you wear long sleeves and stick your arm out the window. Keep your windows open. Open a sunroof if you can. Try to get sunlight on your body, because the sunlight interacts with cholesterol and creates eventually vitamin D3. 20 minutes of sunlight is going to give you 20,000 international units of vitamin D3. The other thing, so magnesium, most people are deficient in, vitamin D3 deficient in, omega-3 fatty acids. Now, I don't eat animal products. I've been a vegan for over 30 years. Not asking you to do that. If you decide to, great. But fish oil is the one people always think about. But fish oil can be contaminated with mercury. So a better choice for vitamin D3 would be krill oil. Krill kind of look like shrimp. They're very high in omega-3 fatty acids, and the omega-3 fatty acids are in what's called a phospholipid form, the form that you need to absorb into your body. The fish oils have to be converted into a phospholipid form. The best choice is algae oil. I take algae oil every day. I take about 1 gram of algae oil a day because the body needs those omega-3 fatty acids. It's an anti-inflammatory. It helps your brain work. And many times this can lead to things like anxiety. So most of us are not giving our body nearly enough nutrients to function at its optimum level. That's why I say, please, if you do nothing else, take Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source. They're 2 powders. They taste great. I mix them with coconut milk, almond milk. I put it in a jar and shake it up so it dissolves really well. Those are on my website, drjoeesposito.com, or you can go to Amazon has them as well. Dr. Joe Esposito, just look me up there. My books are on my website. Archive radio shows are on the website. And if you have questions, you always send them me through the website as well. Lines are open if you have any questions right now. 844-44-DR-JOE, 844-44-DR-JOE. That number rings through to my offices when I'm not on the air. 844-44-DR-JOE right now if you have a question. Hey, tell your friends about the show. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back. Hey, everybody. Thanks for being here. Glad you could make it. Glad to spend a little time with you. We're talking today about anxiety and panic attacks and how common it is. Crazy common. And so many times when patients come in our offices and they have this condition, we'll sit down with them and we'll look at their diets and we'll look at their digestive system. If they're not digesting their food properly, they may not be breaking proteins into amino acids, and amino acids become neurotransmitters in the brain, and a lack of neurotransmitters or improper use of neurotransmitters can lead to a lot of things like anxiety, a lack of nutrients, bad diet, because so many of you don't get enough nutrients to just make the body run. And then you expect it to exceed just the basics. It's not going to happen. So you got to cut out the excessive consumption of sugar and junk food. And this is so hard to do because it's stimulating to the brain. And when we stimulate the brain, we get high, and we like that. And so we have to make sure that we're eating the right foods. And think about it. You know something's wrong. You know the bad foods. It's not like I'm telling you something special. You know that the things like alcohol, meat, sugar, dairy, coffee, soda, artificial sweetener, breads, cookies, cakes, donuts, pastas, you know these are bad for you. No one's going to say, oh, I wish I had more cake. I think that's something I absolutely need in my diet. But sometimes it's really hard to give them up. But the cool part is this. Once you start making little changes in your diet, your body's getting nutrients that it needs, and it doesn't need so much outside stimulation. Just like smoking, just like drinking, just like drugs, just like other dangerous addictions. When your body starts to get healthy, you don't need this outside stimulation. So I want you to think every single day, what am I doing that's going to help my body get better? How about breathing? Are you breathing properly? A lot of people aren't. So here's a way you can tell. This is a neat little thing you can do. Lay on your back and put a book on your belly and just breathe. And the book should go up and down, or anything really, but the book is an easy thing, or stuffed animal or something like that. And make sure it's going up and down, because so many times we just breathe without chest muscles and we don't use our diaphragm. And that can cause spasms in the diaphragm, which could actually cause the stomach to push up into the esophagus. And that could lead to things like acid reflux, which then leads to emotional distress because you're not breaking down your food and getting your nutrients. So think about that. So many patients come into our offices and they want us to check their arms, their legs because they're having numbness or tingling. They're sweating a lot. They've done hormone panels. When all they're doing is they're putting bad food in their body and they're not putting good food in their body. So you have to eat. I've said this for years. You have to eat. You might as well eat good food. So go outside. Go for a brisk walk. When you're outside, you're going to be breathing better, and that helps tremendously. In fact, what's it called? Foresting. That's a treatment now. I saw this recently, where you just walk in the woods. You don't have to do anything. Just walk in the woods. And just being out in the woods creates something called negative ions. Well, the woods create negative ions. And a lot of poisons and toxins that you're exposed to are positively charged. When you put negatively charged ions into the body, it can neutralize a lot of these toxins. That's why it feels so good to be around a waterfall or by the ocean. There's a lot of negative ions in the air. Listen to nature. Listen to some quiet music. Not necessarily rock and roll music. I love rock and roll, but maybe something quieter. Now, exercise really helps because when you have these panic attacks, you go into what's called the fight or flight syndrome. There's two types of nerves in your body. One speeds you up, one slows you down. And you can get stuck in the speed up mode. That's the sympathetic mode. And when you're stuck in the sympathetic mode, you're not downshifting into the parasympathetic mode. So one of the things you can do is have somebody rub your shoulders, because the shoulders are innervated by what's called the spinal accessory nerve. The spinal accessory nerve is a major parasympathetic nerve. It helps relax your body. That's why if you get a massage, it feels great to get your shoulders rubbed. You get your arm rubbed, your leg rubbed. That's nice. But the shoulders are one of the keys because it's a big parasympathetic nerve that you're stimulating the part of your body to calm you down. And when you do that, things like anxiety and panic help. Exercise helps create new neurons, which are nerves in the brain, which can then release things like GABA, the neurotransmitter that helps calm you down. It can boost levels of dopamine and norepinephrine, and so it can kind of buffer the side effects of stress. So I say exercise. You don't have to go out and do mixed martial arts. Go for a walk. Clean your house. Go up and down the stairs. When your body stays in motion, you build up new neurons. And here's a little trick for you. When you're exercising, make sure you're using both sides of the body, because the right side of the brain controls the left side of the body. The left side of the brain controls the right side of the body. And so many times if we do a sport, let's say tennis, we use one side of the body more than the other, and we put a overburden or stress on one side of the brain, and the other side becomes weaker. So one of the tricks I teach my patients that play sports is whatever sport you're playing, if you're just practicing, play with the opposite hand. You know, if you're a baseball player, you always bat righty, bat lefty a little bit. Again, you're not looking for amazing skills here. You're just trying to utilize both sides of the body. If you play tennis, take a ball and just hit it with the other hand. You're going to look silly. You're not going to have good coordination. But that's a trick that's going to help build up both parts of your brain. And so most of us use one side of the brain all day, every day. We work a mouse, we brush our teeth, we drive our car, we talk on the phone. The earpiece is always in one side of the ears. Switch it. Again, you're using an earpiece now. Remember, we're not putting the phone next to our ear anymore because of electromagnetic frequencies. Switch it and put the earpiece in the other ear. Anything you can do with the opposite side of the body is going to help tremendously. And when you're able to do that, the brain becomes integrated. Instead of what we mostly do all day, every day, we segregate our brain. When you segregate the brain, you're only using one part and then the other. If you have to reboot the brain, and I have this in my new book, Prescription for Extreme Health, march in place. Stand up and march, right arm, left leg, left arm, right leg. Now, pay attention. If you're not bringing your right elbow to your left knee and your left elbow to your right knee, you're marching one side and then the other. That's called being switched. The brain is not processing. So concentrate. Bring your left elbow to your right knee, your right elbow to your left knee. And in this process, this cross-crawling, the brain starts to reboot itself. This is why it's so important when you have a child, let them crawl. I've heard people say, well, my son was great. We had him walking right away. No, the baby needs to crawl because it helps integrate the brain and actually build up neurons that help the brain work more efficiently. And if the brain is working more efficiently, you're less likely to have things like anxiety attacks or stress. And so try that. Just march in place. Right arm, left leg, left arm, right leg. Little trick you can do. If you're in an office or if you're wherever you are, drink a lot of water. because most of us are dehydrated. Drink a lot of water, usually 6-8 glasses a day. And then when you have to go to the bathroom, which is good, march. Left arm, right leg, left arm, right, left arm, left elbow, right knee, right elbow, left knee. And in that marching process, you're going to help reboot the brain, and that's going to help tremendously when it comes to anxiety. I'm going to have to go to a break pretty soon. I've got some callers. If you're on the line, hang on. The number, if you have a question, 844-44-Dr. Joe. My website, drjoeesposito.com. We archive radio shows there. You can send me questions, like me on Facebook. Lots of you did that since I've been on the air. Thank you very much. We send you out good information. Hey, check my website for my live events. I know I have one coming up real soon. Love to have you come out to I have a couple coming up, actually. Come out to the live events. They're a lot of fun. Most of them are free. A lot of times we give out free tickets to the events on the website. So if you like me on Facebook or on the website, we'll get that to you too. But if you have questions, if you want to order the Super Greens, Essential Source, drjoeesposito.com. Hey, don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back. Hey, don't go. Hey, everybody, thanks for tuning in. Do appreciate your time. We're talking today about anxiety and panic attacks, and boy, is this a hot topic. Holy cow, the phones are lighting up. Facebook is lighting up. I'm getting texts and emails from people I haven't heard from in years, which is great. Big topic. A lot of people have emotional disorders, and these emotional disorders can lead to physical disorders, but the physical disorders can also lead to emotional disorders. So if I have neck pain, back pain, shoulder pain, numbness, tingling, this can cause a lot of stress on my body. And then something comes in, whatever it is. My boss yells at me at work. I get a flat tire. My body's already kind of wired. It's under a lot of stress. And then something else comes in and kind of pushes another button, and then I can start having panic attacks. When normally, if I'm running a little late for work, it's not that big a deal. But if I have pain, if I have a malfunctioning digestive system, if I'm not getting the proper nutrition, if I do have issues with numbness, tingling, muscle weakness, and then something benign, like I'm running 5 minutes late for work, gets in, I can go into a full-blown panic attack. Suddenly something happens, let's say at work, where it's overwhelming. Sometimes we get a little packed with patients. We have emergencies come in, we have people walking in, and we have appointments, and it gets a little nuts. Now, that would be a stressful situation. It is. It happens a lot. But if my body isn't functioning at 100%, that can push it over the edge. So start thinking about, what can I do to take control of my health? I can't change the fact that I may have a few emergency patients call in, and I have to deal with them. I can't change the fact that I'm stuck in traffic. I know in Atlanta a couple of weeks ago, there was a collapse of one of the major highways. Talk about stress for an entire city. It's an issue. I can't control that. But I can control my body. I can control putting bad foods in my body, sugars, alcohols, hard-to-digest foods like animal products. I put easy-digest foods in my body, high-fiber foods in my body to keep the body moving the best it can. There's a cool technique, by the way. If you don't know what this is, if you've never heard of it, it's really neat. It's called Emotional Freedom Technique, EFT. It was developed in the 1990s by somebody named Gary Craig. He's a Stanford engineer, and he was specializing in healing and self-improvement. It's sort of like acupuncture, only it's based on the concept of energy flowing through the body, and instead of using needles, you actually tap on certain meridians. And I'll tell you what, it sounds a little airy-fairy. It works. So you can go to YouTube, look up EFT, and there's hundreds, probably thousands of videos on it. And it's really neat. You just tap on certain points of your body while repeating the issue that's bothering you. So I can tap, there's one on top of my head, near my eye, and my chin, on my clavicle bone, underneath my arm, on my wrist. And you tap on these points while repeating the issue that's a concern to you. And what you're doing is you're kind of retraining the body, just like we talked about earlier, a Pavlovian reflex, where these things kind of get stuck, and we get stuck in this loop, and we can't get this emotion to break free of this loop. We can do this now with things like Emotional Freedom Technique. Works great. Really good stuff for people. Post-traumatic stress disorder, really neat stuff. Whenever you go through a real tough time in your life, it's nice to have this bag of tricks, so to speak. What can I do? Well, you know what? I can do magnesium. I can do Dr. Joe's Super Greens, Dr. Joe's Essential Source, which you should be doing every day, by the way, anyway. I got to make sure my vitamin D levels are right. I got to make sure I'm getting enough omega-3 fatty acids in my diet. Got to make sure I'm getting enough fiber in my diet. That's why I eat a plant-based diet. I'll be honest with you. I like meatball sandwiches, provolone cheese on Italian bread. But once I realized what that was doing to my body, I said, I just can't do that anymore. And so I like to rule my life by logic, but sometimes emotions get in the way, or chemistry gets in the way. Brain starts getting high from sugar. Nucleus accumbens get stimulated. Dopamine is released. You start getting a little high from it. You want more. But when you understand why that's happening, then you can take control. Let's go back to the callers. If you have a question, 844-44 Dr. Joe. Daniel, how can we make your day better?
Hey, Dr. Joe, how are you?
I'm happy you called.
Yeah, I've been diagnosed with anxiety, and I've been 5 times to the emergency room this year. Been admitted, got my heart checked because my attacks mimic a heart attack, and I still deal with it daily. I haven't went to a psychiatrist. Once I went in, they diagnosed me with acid reflux, like you're saying.
Ta-da!
And I still get the feelings, even though I take something for the acid reflux. It'll come and go. I have pressure right in my chest, and it goes right from my back through my chest, down my arms. So
There you go.
You basically got me convinced to change my diet.
Well, good.
With this show. And, my concern was, I'm on a blood pressure pill, high blood pressure. And my question for you was, would a beta blocker blood pressure pill, would that cause this anxiety?
Probably not. It sounds more like the stomach being pushed up against the diaphragm. Now, the same nerve that controls your stomach, major control of your stomach, is a major control of your heart. It's called the vagus nerve, V-A-G-U-S. And if the stomach pushes up against the diaphragm, I find that can irritate the vagus nerve, which can then irritate the heart and raise the blood pressure. I've had many, many, many patients over the years where we pull the stomach away from the diaphragm. We always check the spine because the spine always has to be checked. If there's a pinched nerve in the spine, that has to be fixed. We pull the stomach away from the diaphragm, and the blood pressure drops.
Okay.
And so many patients have gone back to their primary care physicians, and they'll explain what they did, and the doctors go, well, gosh, that makes sense. I never thought of it like that before. And then they say all the time, whatever you're doing, whatever Dr. Joe and his staff are doing, just keep doing it. It's working, keep doing it. So chances are, if we can get that stomach working, that should help the blood pressure, which can then break the proteins into amino acids to produce neurotransmitters, and that should help the anxiety as well.
Okay.
So we're getting to the cause now of the problem, not just treating the symptom.
Right.
So if you want to come see us, 844-44 Dr. Joe, just call during the week. We're more than happy to get you in.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Daniel. I appreciate the call. Let's keep the callers going. What the heck? Lee, how can we make your day better?
How you doing, Dr. Joe?
I'm happy you called. How can we make your day better?
Yeah, I have a question for you. I'm a college student, and I have a hard time, eating healthy, man. It's the hardest. This is my biggest challenge throughout the day.
Hey, everybody, thanks for tuning in. Do appreciate it. We're talking about anxiety attacks and panic attacks today, and we have Lee on the line. You still there, Lee?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay, you wanted to know how to eat healthy as a college student, right?
Yes, sir.
Excellent.
Yes.
Okay, I
One of my biggest challenges.
got lots of answers for you, Lee. Number one, if you go to my website, drjoeesposito.com, we have on the bottom right-hand corner a link to a lecture that I did called "So What Can I Eat?" Because everybody says, Dr. Joe, well, not everybody, most people say, I'm willing to change my diet. Tell me what I need to do. So I made it's an hour lecture. It's real simple. We talk about breakfast, lunches, dinners, snacks. It's all there. My first book called Eating Right for the Health of It is a very good guide as well. Now, let's talk about real world. I went to college for a long time. I have 5 board certifications. I went to college for a long time. So a couple of things. Number one, start out the day very light. Because when you wake up in the morning, your digestive system kind of needs to wake up a little bit. So giving it something warm to start the day, warm cup of water, an herbal tea, that's not a bad way to start your day. And it also can cause the bowels to start to contract, which can then kind of clean out the waste products from the day before. So that would be a good start. What I usually do is I'll have tea, and then I'll have Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source, because that's about 10 servings of raw fruits and vegetables in a powder form. Then it's prebiotics, probiotics, digestive enzymes, complete multivitamins. So I love starting my day with Super Greens and Essential Source. It really gets me supercharged. As far as your brain going, most of us, including college students, are dehydrated. So instead of drinking coffee, which really just perpetuates the problem, I want you to drink a ton of water. 6, 8, 10 glasses a day. You're going to have so much energy just by doing that.
Yeah.
Next thing is I usually have a snack around 10, 11 o'clock. I'll usually have a couple of handfuls of nuts, maybe a little salad, an avocado. And then lunch is usually a salad. Because the lighter we eat, Lee, the smarter you're going to be. Promise you.
Yeah.
Anybody, you're going to be blown away how easy college is going to be by these simple changes. Okay? And then dinner.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And the thing is, Dr. Joe, you know, because what you told me, I actually do the opposite. You know, I wake up, I eat heavy, actually.
Right.
And,
yeah.
like around 1 or 2 o'clock, man, I fall asleep.
You're
and
crashing.
I get
Sure.
hungry.
Uh-huh.
And, you know, my blood sugar, I guess my blood sugar it drops.
Right.
And
well, yeah.
the thing about me is, you know, I eat a lot. And,
sure.
you know, yeah, and I'm going to try my best to eat healthy, man. It's just, I just don't want to lose a lot of weight.
No, you won't. No.
Because I weigh around,
No, you won't
weigh
lose weight.
around 164.
Yeah, no, for
So
6
I
foot
won't
tall,
lose a lot
that's
of weight?
thin. Yeah. No, what'll happen is your body will start working normally again and start absorbing your nutrients. So cheap things college students can do is what a lot of the world does. The world doesn't have the affluence that we here in the United States has. So things like beans and rice, cabbage soups, grains. You know, I usually don't recommend grains, but for someone like you who can process them, start thinking cheap, healthy, ethnic foods, because American food's real expensive. Look at the ethnic foods, the Indian foods, the Mexican foods. You're going to find that those foods are great for you, much less expensive, and you're going to feel really good about it. The number one consumer of energy we have as humans is romance. I'll keep it clean, this family show. The number two consumer of energy is digestion. So if you're eating a heavy meal, you're done for the day.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, try spreading it out. See how you do. If you can get the super greens and essential source, that stuff is like gold. You'll be amazed. And in 2 or 3 weeks, give me a call back. Let me know how much better your grades got.
No problem, Dr. Joe. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Lee. Appreciate the call. And, folks, that's a good point. That's why I want to keep Lee on there. I want to go over what he's doing. Is it's so much less expensive to be healthy than it is to be sick. And he's crashing in the middle of the day. How many of you crash in the middle of the day? Raise your hands. A lot of you. And so what do you do then? You turn to what? Coffee, of course. You have your coffee break. Coffee doesn't give you energy. It actually robs the body of energy. So, as we said, you're perpetuating the issue. So what people love to learn is that when they start drinking a lot of water, and I have water filters on my website, by the way. I think you should at least have one water filter in your house for your water that you drink because of the chlorine and fluorine and chemicals and drugs that are found in water, residual drugs. They don't put drugs in there. But if you get a good water filter, and they're on my website, at least one for your kitchen sink, drink 10 glasses of water a day. You'll be blown away how much more energy you have, how you'll sleep better, how your love life improves. Instead of trying to treat the symptoms, again, we get to the cause. Because as a chiropractor, when patients come to me, they'll say, Doc, I have neck pain, back pain, shoulder pain, numbness, tingling, pain down my leg, acid reflux. So we can try to cover it up. We can always send them out for medication or shots, or we try to get to the cause because then that's a long-term fix, not a short-term cover-up. And a lot of the anti-anxiety drugs have a lot of side effects. You know, conventional treatment for most anxiety disorders, some type of prescription. What's worse, that's the extent of the treatment options. That's it. Take this pill. It's not working. Let's try a different pill. I'm not against drugs. Anti-anxiety drugs called benzodiazepines or benzos. It really doesn't fix anything. Now, if you need them, take them. Absolutely. I can't tell you to take drugs or not take drugs. But when patients come in my office and they say, Doc, I want to get off my blank medication, 100% of the time I tell them, I can't tell you to do that. But if I can get you healthy, then you can decide, or you and your primary care physician can work on that to get you off the medications. A lot of people do. Doctors love it. That's the thing is, most medical doctors don't like prescribing drugs, but that's their job. And so when they find out that there's other alternatives, they're like, this is great. This is amazing. I didn't know there were other alternatives. Now we're going to try to incorporate a co-management of the patient. And that's when patients really get some good results. 43% of older adults use benzodiazepines for anxiety and insomnia, a lot of times chronically, even though their long-term effectiveness and safety is still a little questionable. Some of the side effects include memory loss, hip fracture, and, of course, addiction. So 43% of older adults are taking these medications. We got an epidemic on our hands. People who take these drugs are nearly 4 times more likely to die prematurely than people who don't, and they also have a 35% greater risk of cancer. There's also evidence that benzodiazepine used by older results in a 50% higher risk of dementia. So the bottom line is this. What can we do to get well? Get your spine working properly. Take the stress off the nervous system. Neck pain, back pain, shoulder pain. These are warning signs that something's wrong. Get it fixed. If you have acid reflux, heartburn, pull the stomach away from the diaphragm. We'll do it at our office. And then at least take Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source. Those are on my website or on Amazon, drjoeesposito.com, or of course Amazon. Get my books. Listen to my radio shows. They're archived on the website. And if you want to come see us, the office number is 844-44-DR-JOE. That's the number we use here in the studio as well. Hey, listen, thank you so much for listening. I appreciate it. And thanks for telling so many friends about the show. We'll catch you next time.